The recent announcement that a new Resident Evil game is in development, everybody is rightfully excited, especially with the return of Koshi Nakanishi. You know this game is going to be the biggest Resident Evil game ever and probably the most ambitious. So I'm excited to see what Koshi has in his mind, but I wanted to make a very early wish list for Resident Evil 9. I still believe this game is like 2 years away, but it's never too early to make a wish list video. So y'all let me know in the comment section what y'all want to see in Resident Evil 9. Yes, I said Resident Evil 9. It is definitely not a remake. With that being said, here's some of the things I want to see in Resident Evil 9. Is a returning OG character. And I'm not talking about being a side character like Chris was for the last 2 RE games. I'm talking about the main protagonist, the one we control. And I actually have a few candidates that I want to see return for RE9, and all of them are female leads. I feel like Resident Evil needs a female lead once again. We haven't seen a female lead since RE3 Code Veronica, and that was ages ago. So the first and main character that I want to play as in Resident Evil 9 is Jill Valentine. Now, I seen there was a rumor that Leon and Jill are supposed to be teaming together in this game, and me personally, I don't want to see Leon in this, especially if it's a horror game. If Leon is involved in any type of RE game at this point, he is a cold-blooded killer. He's suplexing motherfuckers. He's drop kicking. There's going to be no horror aspect with Leon. But with Jill, I believe you can still have high horror intensity in the game with a character like that. Jill hasn't been involved in a Resident Evil game since RE5, and that's back in 2009. So it's been a minute since we've seen Jill on our screen. Jill is one of the most beloved characters. I just feel like it's time for her to get another game. So I think Capcom can do us a solid. Jill could definitely be an action type of character, and she can fit in the horror aspect of Resident Evil, so I think the fit is perfect. Another character I would love to see, and I had a video on this as well, is Ada Wong. Ada was supposed to be in Resident Evil Village, but they scrapped her, but the concept art is out there. I'm pretty sure everybody's done seen it already, and I really feel like Ada will be involved in this game some way, shape, or form. Ada does not have any standalone Resident Evil game, no spin-off, no anything. I feel like she's very deserving of her own game, but the problem with that, like I said with Leon, I don't know how you make the game horror with an action-oriented character like Ada. Grapple guns, flip kicks, all that other stuff, I just don't know how they can make her so vulnerable in the game. Which leads me to my final character, and I feel like this is a dark horse character that nobody has ever thought of, and this would be a perfect fit. So the final character is Rebecca Chambers. I would love to see Rebecca Chambers in another Resident Evil game, especially because the only one she was in was fucking awful. Now, don't get me wrong, I know at this point in time in RE9, they're much older, but I still feel like she would be this very lovable, bubbly character that gets frightened by a lot of things. And I just thought about it because there was a rumor about Resident Evil 0 getting a remake. What if Capcom does something like release Resident Evil 0 surprisingly next year, and that's basically their hint at Rebecca Chambers making a return? So that is just a little prediction on my end, but it's definitely a character I wish to see back in RE. So I'm hoping that is the case with Rebecca if it's not the other two. Now this is huge. This is like the main thing that's going to make or break RE9 to me, and that is horror. I want horror back in RE9, and I know some people will sit there and be like, well, RE7 was horror. Yes, it was, but I want more than what RE7 was. The main source of horror that came from RE7 was the Baker family, pretty much Jack and the wife, I forgot her name. Those two were the scariest parts of the game. I want to see something very different in RE9. I want to see psychological horror, and I'm talking on the level of a Silent Hill. And I know psychological horror isn't really a Resident Evil thing, but Koshi is somebody that's not afraid to take risks and try new things in this series. And I think this game would really benefit from psychological horror, especially if the rumors is true about the game being semi-open world, being in a Silent Hill-esque town with woods and shape-shifting enemies and stuff like that. If those are true, and I'm talking consistent horror, I want tension, I want to be nervous to turn any corner, walk anywhere, sounds need to throw me off. I want the most grotesque looking enemies that will keep me up at night. I really want them to go balls to the wall with the horror in this game. I feel like a lot of us RE fans have been begging for it. And yes, again, RE7 was a horror game, but there were certain sections in the game that was absolutely action. Another thing I would love to see in RE9 is Capcom taking more risks, and it ties in with Koshi Nakanishi. As I explained, he's a risk taker. I want to see them tap into some of the older horror games that they did in the PS2 era and implement them into RE9. Now, some games y'all probably never heard of, I don't know, but Haunting Ground is something that is underrated as a horror game because a lot of people didn't know about it, but it's definitely a Capcom gem. And it features something that you don't see in a lot of horror games, and that is a freak out mechanic. In Haunting Ground, the main character, if she gets freaked out, the whole screen starts getting real wide and blurry because she's in the state of panic and she's falling all over the place, running into the wall. I would love to see a mechanic like that implemented into RE9. Also, I feel like they can take control of the newer game technology, and I'm speaking more of the PlayStation side because you guys know how the controller technology is or whatever. I feel like they can implement something like, if you're shaking too much, the controller has feedback and the enemy can hear you. If you jump or you scream, it can go into the mic and alert enemies. Like, I want to see them have fun and implement the next gen technology into the game as well. I feel like that'll go crazy. Yeah, Capcom, if you're listening to this, you're probably not, because who the fuck am I? But do not be afraid to take risks and just have fun with the game. I really want to see something different. I want consistent level design with this game. I feel like the problem with the last couple RE games, RE8, RE7, is that the level design consistency is not as good. And honestly, I think you could take this problem back all the way to RE4 with the island section. RE5, you had the area where you had to fight enemies with AKs and take covers, and 7, the whole ship portion just threw the whole game's momentum down the fucking drain. And then you had RE8 with Heisenberg's level. I'm just tired of running into levels that I just fucking hate playing. It feels like a chore. It should never feel like a chore replaying RE. Inventory management is very key in the older RE games, so I feel like they definitely need to bring it back. I'm hoping they do. I want to see, me personally, I don't know about y'all, but I really want to see limited backpack or whatever space. I don't want to be able to grab 3 or 4 extras just so I can fit a bunch of different guns and shit in there. I want it to be limited to at least like maybe 5, maybe at the most 6 slots. In fact, that actually ties in with something else I want to see in RE9, and that is the every bullet matters type of gameplay. If you don't know what I mean by that, I mean that you cannot just simply waste bullets for the sake of wasting bullets. I've watched several YouTubers over the years play the recent RE games, and they just waste clip after clip after clip, and there's no repercussions for it. You did that in, say, a Resident Evil 0 or a Resident Evil 1, you would be absolutely fucked. I am rubbing a crystal ball right now, wishing that Capcom brought that mentality back to this new RE game. Because again, a lot of us RE fans miss that survival horror aspect of RE. Ammunition needs to be very scarce. Items need to be very scarce. If you're going to be able to pick up certain weapons, you shouldn't be able to just abuse them. They should be able to break, etc, etc. I want to see realism with these weapons. This one I feel like is a huge thing. I know Capcom pays attention to the mod community, and I know they see the randomizers. I would love if Capcom made a randomizer mode for RE9. Just have a mode where every time you replay it, a bunch of random shit just happens and it just throws you all the way off. Every time you replay any difficulty, the game is just switched up in some sort of way to keep you on your toes. It'll keep the game fresh and then make the replayability even better than ever. You are in for a fucking chaotic experience every time you play RE9. That would be absolutely huge. I need to see that. And the last thing I definitely want to see in this new Resident Evil game is the continuation of Folklore characters. Now, obviously, they're not bringing back zombies. Capcom is way past and above zombies at this point in time. I definitely would love to see more Folklore creatures. There's already rumors about shape-shifting enemies and all these weird type of creatures and everything. So I'm just hoping Capcom continues down that path, because Resident Evil Village enemies were actually pretty fire. I don't know how a lot of people feel about it because nobody really talks about Village like that. But I felt like the enemy variation in Village was pretty damn good. You know, you had the vampires, the werewolves. So I'm hoping Capcom continues that. So that's really all the things I would love to see in Resident Evil 9. So y'all let me know what y'all want to see. Do y'all agree with some of the stuff that I want to see? At the end of the day, this Resident Evil game is going to be absolutely huge. I can't wait. Capcom definitely has a lot in store for the fan base, and I'm talking probably multiple games being worked on at the same time, all the remakes, and then you got 9 coming. I just can't wait to see what they have up their sleeves. But if you made it to the end of the video, guys, thank you so much. Thank you for all the support on this channel. I appreciate you guys greatly, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.